Uh, Um, no, basically, I just wanted to see, have you heard any feedback from any of your friends, like Stephanie and all them, about how COVID is affecting them?
Well, like they're getting like cabin fever
Yeah.
and they are looking for the vaccine, but how like Steph's boyfriend is like at working at a grocery store and he's working on getting his first vaccination, and
Mhm.
he's already had the COVID, so he's already immune to it. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So, but they're starting to get cabin fever and things.
Yep. Who
I
isn't?
understand. Oh, I know. I get that. I get that. I know that for us, we're the same way. I mean, there's really nothing you can do, other than, Zoom calls or, podcasts. But other than that, there's really nothing, you know,
Yeah, and the weather's
there's
not
nothing you
helping
can.
any better. The weather's not helping to with the people getting the cabin fever with the COVID.
Oh,
To
exactly. Exactly. So, well, and then I don't know about you, but what I don't like is the fact that um all the cover it seems like most of the coverage on the news or on the TV or wherever is centered around seniors and like regular people or like and there's not really any talk about people like that have intellectual disabilities like us.
yeah, or like I'm considered 1C where
Right.
I still have to wait
Right.
because
So do
of
we.
cancer,
Yeah.
and which really sucks.
Right.
And
Right.
they're really not talking about the side effects of the COVID vaccine either. So yeah, it's a good thing, but we don't know what the outcomes are for the side effects of it, because I'm also hearing that people have died because of the
Uh-huh.
vaccine that were perfectly
Well,
healthy.
I've heard that too, but I've also heard that people have kind of exaggerated that a little bit too. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
because like for example, they said that people have said that Hank Aaron died. That was the reason why he died was because he had gotten you know,
Yeah.
um um the vaccine. But that wasn't the truth. He was already sick, so you know, so or that he died of natural causes. So, but like I said, like you said too, there's just not that much talk about people with special needs or intellectual disabilities in the news. It's like
Mhm.
all they all they talk about is you know I don't want to say normal people, but you know they talk about like seniors, and then they talk about I guess, I mean, what would you call them? I don't know. Everybody else maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
general
So
population.
yeah, there you go. There you go. But they really don't. There's not really that much coverage of us. You know what I mean?
Right.
So and it's just not us. It's like the people that like the people that care for people with intellectual disabilities. I mean, we're lucky enough that we can live on our own. But
Yes.
for the people that can't, or that their parents take care of them or something, or like they can't, or they're nonverbal or something, it's what do you do?
Yeah, like there's a couple of people up at my barn. They have kids or adults that come in that are nonverbal just to take horseback riding, hippotherapy, or speech therapy, or stuff like that. It's it's amazing to see that, but again, you don't know if they're going to be able to do the vaccine or any of that.
Well, or how they're dealing with it, or how they're dealing with not just the vaccine, but how they're dealing with their, you know, um, routine being changed, or,
Mhm.
or not understanding, maybe having a hard time understanding why they can't do, certain things anymore that they used to, you know?
My mom has a friend whose son is now in a group home, and due to this, he had a routine and he is totally all confused. Like, he used to go to a workshop and he would run down to the end of the driveway because he got so used to waiting for the bus to go to his workshop, or go he would go to his mom's house to make out his Christmas list. And due to this virus, he can't do any of that. And it really broke his routine.
Right, and see, that's the like I said, I mean, not that the general population or seniors don't have some of the same challenges, but, with people with special needs or intellectual disabilities, it's a little bit harder, you know?
Mhm.
So, because you need that, like you said, they need that routine. I mean, look at some of our friends. Yeah, they might be, independent or as much as they can be, but their routine is messed up. I mean, look at Kurt. I mean, he used to be his routine used to be he used to, be used to going to work, getting up and going to work. And because he can't do that anymore, he's trying to figure out, what there's to do, what we can do,
Yeah.
and and sometimes he has a hard time when I say, like he really wants to volunteer at the police station, you know, and he understands why, but but it took him a while, you know what I mean? So, 'cause he's like, "Oh, I'll wear a mask and stuff," but it's like, you know, that's not the only concern, so,
Yeah.
So, and then some other people, I don't know about you, Stace, but I know some people in our kind of population, have a problem wearing masks, and sometimes they have a hard time, breathing through them and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I know certain people, and you know who I'm referring to because they won't wear them going into rest like restaurants, or they think just because they haven't gotten their vaccine, been tested or whatever, they shouldn't have to
Mhm.
wear their masks in
Right.
somebody else's place. And just out of respect for them, if somebody asks them to put on their mask, then if they refuse to, I would be like, there's the door,
Right, right.
you know?
And, yeah, yeah. And, and it's not just that, it's just sometimes they just physically, can't handle having, a mask on, because
Yeah,
maybe they have a hard time breathing out of their nose or something, not nose, but you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
but,
I get,
I mean, yeah, it could be, you know, one of those things too. I mean, luckily, the vaccines are coming, but you know, we were talking about on a call earlier, or that I was on earlier, I was talking about it, and we were one of the things that what question that came up with was that, you would think that, okay, so people that are in group homes and all that stuff, yeah, they'll probably get the vaccine before us. Okay, but there's a lot of them that have special needs that are or that and but we do Special Olympics as well, so why can't we, you know, be part of that group as well? So,
exactly.
and
Hmm.
it's like, you know, and nobody on that call, um, nobody had a, nobody had a really good answer, you know? So,
Yeah.
so, but, I mean, I don't get it. It's like, I understand that you want to talk about the general population, and I understand, you want to talk about seniors, but there's this whole section out there of population that you should be talking about that it's affecting as well, if not,
Hmm.
more. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
that makes plenty of sense.
I mean, it's kind of like, and they some of them like with Kurt, they might have lost their jobs because of it, and you know they might not understand. Oh, did they might have thought that they did something wrong, you know?
Hmm.
So, oh, what did I do wrong to lose my job, or, you know, or something like that, when there was nothing you did, but, you know, so, but, they have a harder time, like, understanding. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or, like, if they're used to going on vacation, or even like, or something like that, then it's hard to, and if you had to explain it to them,
Exactly.
and it'd be a lot easier if there was, more people who talked about it more, if it was generally accepted, to talk about it more.
Yes, just even if people talked about people who have a learning impairment or whatever,
Right.
because it's like, if even though we've came so far, there's still so much to learn because nobody really talks like about people who have impairments in general, like not everyone,
Well,
and there's
well,
different levels. Like there's
right. Well, and right, and even with that, Stace, is it kind of makes me mad too. Is like, for even if you, let's say that you have a learning disability, and let's say that's one, your main one, but let's say you have a couple others. Some people that have them, and we've gone to school with a couple people,
Mhm.
that don't say, "Oh, I just have a learning disability. It's not an intellectual disability." It's like, well, what do you think an intellectual disability is? You know, or you know, or then why are you part of Special Olympics or something like that?
Yeah,
So, it's like, I understand that, you might, if you see some, that's the thing I don't like, is like, when people try to compare each other, so,
I know. And it's like, why you're no better than the other person, and just to knock off um
right.
who you're comparing
Mm.
yourself against. You're not being fair to yourself, and you're putting your own self down by comparing yourself to somebody else.
Right. And especially with this pandemic going around, you can't do that, because, you know, everybody's having a hard time right now going through stuff, and it's, so comparing that doesn't do anything, especially that doesn't help matters, so,
Yeah. Just in general,
well, and just,
regardless
yeah, well, just
regardless
in
of
general,
the
yeah, too,
pandemic
but
or not, you still should not compare to yourself to anybody else, because not everybody is the same. Everybody is
true.
different in their own way, and everybody functions different or whatever.
Yeah, like one person might, like, you might have, like, you might be good at doing one thing, but another person might be good at another thing that you're not, you know?
Hmm.
So, it's, you can't just be like with my disability, I have, with the autism spectrum disorder. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that, I'm like really good at something, or that I can't talk, or I have low intelligence. I have, everybody that has, autism is different, or like with yours,
Yeah, with my epilepsy and
yeah,
tuberculosis
yeah,
and my cancer. Hell,
yeah,
I'm functioning I'm on the high spectrum for somebody who has tuberous sclerosis, to where
Right,
a lot of people like you that are on the spectrum for somebody who has tuberous sclerosis is on the very low end.
right, right.
And
That's why it's called a spectrum. Not every person is the same, you
right.
know?
And
So,
I'm lucky to where a lot of people who have seizures have them like 24/7
right,
or like every 5 minutes or so, where I can go maybe months or a year or several years without having one.
mhm,
But, you know, it's a different thing for everybody.
right. Well, and especially, you know, um, when I hear people, especially with COVID, and people have, different ways they react to it, I
Mhm.
mean, and not just getting the illness, which God forbid, I hope, not that many people get, but just the reaction to staying home and, not being able to do that much, so,
Yeah, and I've already experienced that with my cancer to where I
mm,
already had to stay home for
right,
month, 2 months, so it wasn't nothing new for me to stay home, but for the people who haven't experienced it, it was like a shocker, like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do with myself. God,"
right,
you know?
right, right, and yeah, and, I mean, it's just, I think people, like I said, our population, I feel like, you know, because there's not much, there hasn't been that much coverage
Mhm.
and or education, but more coverage that, people don't understand that there's this whole section of population out there that is dealing with this a lot different than, the general population is. So,
Yeah, and they don't even talk about people like us in general to where we're kinda, like, on the down low, on the hush hush, like,
right,
how
right,
it was, like, back in the 1960s, and Special Olympics wouldn't have been founded for us even if it weren't for President Kennedy and Eunice Kennedy because of their sister.
right, right. I definitely agree.
And
I mean,
when I told Caroline that, she's like, "What? Huh?" I'm like, "You didn't know this? You didn't know Special Olympics was founded by President Kennedy and Eunice because they had a sister that had a disability?"
mhm.
And by being a global messenger, that is something that is important that you should know
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Yeah, yeah.
because yeah, he was a president, and yeah, he had a sister that had a learning
Mm.
disability, and if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have what we have.
Right, right, right. And 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 there's a lot of times, and and with that movement, too, it's like if there wasn't that movement, you and myself included, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. Like we wouldn't probably be able to live on our own, you know? So
And in that time, people who had learning disabilities, they were locked up in institutions.
exactly. Exactly. So, and if you think about it, if they had the time now, especially with the pandemic going on, I think it'd be a lot worse.
Mhm.
So, you know, so but I don't that's the thing that makes me, the most upset is like people, well, like I said, will watch the news or whatever and they'll talk about, oh, in general, what do people do? And it's like, or about senior citizens, but they really don't take into account that there's a whole nother population that, you know, they talk about
Mhm.
that there's, or that, that's out here, so,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It never has. It never has made any sense just in general, just because before of this COVID, like they just never have really talked about Special Olympics or people who have learning disabilities or whatever. It's like they were kind of swept underneath the rug.
Right, right. So, and even without this, I still feel like, and I think even after the vaccines and after we get back to a sense of normalcy, it's still going to be the same thing. I think it's going to be
Mhm.
where we're still going to be, looked over.
But
So,
that that has to change to where people need to like make it like make see us as well as somebody else that doesn't have a disability or whatever and treat it as an equal.
oh, I definitely agree. You know, it's like, and like I always say on my other podcast, I always say that, given a chance, people with, intellectual disabilities are the same people. It's just they might just need, you know, they can do whatever they want, they might just need some extra help, but they can do whatever they put their mind to,
And
you
we
know.
work twice as hard. We do it like even better than somebody who doesn't because we take the time, or somebody that doesn't take the time, they always come up with an excuse. Like when I would work at Mariano's, I was learning how to train somebody to be a cashier because I was a cashier. And then they were teaching me how to run the brake board and
Mm,
wanted me to become a CSR, but I couldn't because of insurance policies.
right, right, right. So, and I think that too. It's like, even if you look at like Fortune 500 companies, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, they're slowly but surely, you know, um, accepting, being accepting or realizing that our population can do more stuff, but you still don't see it that much. You mostly see, when people think about people with intellectual disabilities, it's like they think about, like working as a bagger at a grocery store, or
Exactly.
something like that. They don't realize that, giving given some training and coaching, we can do whatever, you know?
Exactly the
So,
same. Yep.
yeah.
And I do
So,
understand with being somebody working with a disability, we're only allowed to work X amount of hours, but depending on the job or whatever, other people are allowed to work X amount of hours so then they don't lose their government benefits, which
right.
just as important to be able to keep those because or otherwise you lose them and they're harder to get back.
Well, it's important, but in that same respect though, we with the government benefits though, especially with Medicaid and sometimes with Medicare, um, they want us to be, like regular people, except for like, if we want to get like married, for example, or, or something like that, then that's where I feel like they kind of try to punish us just for
Yeah,
having,
yeah,
a
because you can't
disability or whatever.
if you wind up getting legally married, you can't get the certificate without the chance of losing your benefits because you may wind up making too much money with your spouse.
Well, that and yeah, I know, and that and I think it's also because they don't. I think they feel like because we have special needs or whatever that we can't fall in love or get married, and it's like and so that's why a lot of people have to do like what Kurt and I did, which was kind of have a commitment ceremony kind of thing, where which is the closest thing that we'll ever get to, but,
Which
like
which is a good thing and a bad thing. Well, think about it, anybody who goes through a commitment
oh,
ceremony,
yeah.
they don't, and if it doesn't work out, they don't have to pay a lawyer fee.
Oh, yeah, no, that yeah, that, I get it, just it's still just, I it doesn't seem right, that we have to, choose that instead of,
We don't have the
mm,
choice where other
right,
people
right.
do.
Exactly, exactly. You see other married couples and it's like, well, we're exactly like that, except that we just can't have the paper, so
Yeah. Where there is a guy in my building, he and his wife were they have a he has MS and she was a diabetic and she did hair and he was doing something else to make money. And they went and in this case, I don't think that they should have gotten the paper
uh-huh.
because it caused conflict when she passed.
Right, right.
Because he is, I want to say, Mexican,
Okay.
and she was just like us. Okay, same.
Uh-huh.
And I'm
Uh-huh.
trying not to play the racist card.
Right.
And so, given his job and her job, they were making, and they wanted the piece of paper. And so when she passed, their rent wound up being over $900
Mhm.
because in between the two of them, they were making too much money.
Right.
So their rent was like X way up, okay,
Mhm.
for the two of them to live here.
Right.
And so with them having the piece of paper, they wound up paying more money. And
Mhm.
so if they did what you and Kirk did, in this case, it would have benefited them better just to do the commitment ceremony because given she had diabetes and given that her family didn't like him because of his nationality or his race,
Mhm.
it would have been easier for him to take what he wants and walk away. But when she
Mhm.
passed, her family was making it harder for him. And they looked down on him because of the color of his skin.
Mhm.
So there are different ways to go about it. In that case, the commitment ceremony would have been better for him because then he wouldn't have lost his benefits. But he did lose them because he did get the piece of paper. So now he
Mhm.
has to start all over again and reapply for his benefits.
Right. Right.
And he had to get his
Right.
adjusted so it's just him and not he's not paying for her and him still, even though she already passed.
Mhm. No, and I get that. It's just like I said, it seems like I don't know, it just seems like, whenever you hear people talking or whatever, it just especially now during the pandemic, it just seems like again, we get looked over, or we're the last ones that people think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, if you think that, but that's kind of,
Oh, I
what I,
agree. I
yeah.
agree. It's just that some of them need to really think. Like, would it be best for me to really get the piece of paper, and would it work later down the road in my benefit?
Oh,
Would
oh,
it be
yeah.
best?
Yeah. And that's one of the, if you have, like we had a good relationship with, like I had a good relationship with, you know, Kurt's family, and he had a good relationship, and we still do with, and he
Mhm.
still does with my family. And that's one of the things we talked about, and, that's why you have to have that good, um, line of communication, and to trust that people have, everybody's, best, they have
Interest.
your better, yeah. So, but, but I still say that, we should, there should be more, coverage or more acceptance for, people with, intellectual disabilities, and people just shouldn't assume that,
Exactly.
oh, because you have an intellectual disability, or, oh, that means, you work as a bagger, right? It's like, no, you
No,
know,
no, should be able to have more job options out there too, you know?
exactly, exactly, yeah.
And it's hard.
So,
Hard for
exactly.
somebody who has a learning disability or whatever to find a job because of the stereotype, because they, like you said, because they do think that you should only be a beggar or whatever. No, there's plenty more that we are capable of.
Right, right. I mean, there's, people can be secretaries, or, like like the internship I did at, PACE or whatever, the PACE program. It was like, I was, a secretary for the Chamber of Commerce, and, they wanted me to, because I did such a good job, they had me do, meetings, and, run meetings, not run them, but check people in, and, just be there, just,
See,
help
I
out.
was
So
never offered that chance to do something like that.
I
Pace never
know,
Pace never thought
I,
of highly of
I
me to
know.
have a chance to, and I was perfectly capable of doing something like that, but I was
Yeah,
never
I
given
know.
a chance.
I know, and that, and yeah, but, but that's just one example, though. You know what I mean? If you give people a chance, like if they would have given you a chance, you could have shown them that you were, capable of doing, a lot more. That, we don't fit, there's not a specific, style that everybody with an intellectual disability, you know, um, fits into. There might be, you want, like I might be good at one thing, and but you might be better at something I'm not, you know? So, you know, so it's, like I don't do good with, um, horseback riding because I'm allergic to animals and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But you are, but you're good at horseback riding. So, but that doesn't mean that I don't have other qualities, and that doesn't mean you don't either, So,
Mhm. Like I said,
so
everybody functions different. Everybody is good
right.
at something different in their own way because not everybody is the same. Like math nowadays is so complicated than the way that
Mm-hmm.
we were brought up. There's so many different things. Like I can't look at a math page the same way ever again to where
Oh,
there's
I
a
agree.
called new math and I'm like, huh?
Yeah, no, I agree. Or how, um it could be the new math, and then there's also where, kids are, yeah, kids don't, learn cursive that much anymore, if at all,
I know.
or, and, I just, when we but see, I also think that, like when I was um growing up too, there was a lot of the reason, and I think there is still today too, is the reason why there's so much bullying too is that, and there's a lot of people don't stop it, is because they don't know how to, or because, they're weren't they're not around people with disabilities or special needs, and yeah, the unified schools are helping with that, but before, and it's still, you know, a lot of people don't know how to, you know, they think, oh, you have special needs, or you know, you're the R word or whatever,
Oh, whatever.
and yeah, but I'm just saying, I mean, people, like I had a friend that he's a Special Olympian from Arizona, and he said that he went to the grocery store yesterday, and a lady came up to him because I think he said he wore like one of his Special Olympic shirts or whatever, and a lady came up to him and said, "Oh, are you the R word?"
Wow.
Yeah. So, and yeah, it's like whatever, you can't just you shouldn't, number one, that's not the right thing to say anyway, but it's also my point is though that you can't stereotype people, or you
And
can't.
how would she not know if that person was a coach for Special Olympics or not because they're wearing a T-shirt that has the symbol of Special
Exactly.
Olympics on it? Because they could
Exactly.
be a Special Olympic volunteer, they can be a coach, besides being an athlete.
Exactly. Exactly. Or they might just be a supporter, or like they might be, a family member of somebody that is involved in Special Olympics, So
Yeah, or
yeah.
a unified partner.
Right.
It's
Right.
just because
Exactly.
you see the symbol doesn't mean that you're disabled.
Right. 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 Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree. So, but people don't think like that, you know?
Yeah,
So,
that you
you
can't
know,
educate the general population on people like us, because I think there's a lot that they can learn from the about
well,
us.
and I also think parents kind of um sometimes parents baby their kids with, or kind of, not, well, yeah, baby their kids too, because like maybe they'll see, like maybe they'll have like, it's not even baby, it's more protecting, I guess, but it's not
Yeah,
really protecting.
yeah,
So they'll say, "Oh, because you have an intellectual disability, it's like, you
it's
can't do that much,"
enabling
or
them.
that's what it is. Yes, enabling, yes. And then once they grow up, it's like, what are they gonna do? They have to call, they have to, call their, if they're trying to live on their own, that they had to call, to their parents if they need something, and then they can't be as independent as they can be. You know what I mean?
Yep,
So, and we know people like that, and I'm not gonna say names, but on here, but I'm just saying we know people like that. You know,
yep, yep.
so but it's just sad. So, but
But
I don't
there's
know
so
what.
much to learn for people who have disabilities, and so much to learn for people who are in the general public who don't have disabilities or a family member. That there's so much that people can learn about it, to where I wish there was an education class or something for the general public to learn, because there's so much out there, and
Right.
they're not learning about it because it's hush hush underneath the rug.
Right. Well, and like for example, like when Kurt and I say that we do special, or we're part of Special Olympics, they don't think about the leadership piece of it, like, they all they think about is, "Oh, really? What sports do you compete in?" You know? They
Mhm.
don't think about, they don't think, "Oh," and then whenever I say, "Oh, we raise money for them, and we help raise money for them, and then we do speeches," and, you know, and, like, I'm on the or I'll tell them I'm on this, the leadership council or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, really? I didn't even know that existed," or something, so.
Yeah. It started when I went through my first round of global messengering, but
Right.
at the time we didn't have the funds for it to continue to go through. So it just sat there for
Well, not even that.
years.
Right. Well, it's not even that, Stace. Not I'm just saying that's an example, but, you know, um, plus, and Special Olympics is just an example, but if you tell people that, if they find out that you have an intellectual disability, especially like for a job, then
Mhm.
it's like they it seems like they treat you different. Because I remember, for example, I went to a job interview at a local steakhouse. It's not here anymore, and I was just becoming a host. I was trying to interview for a hostess, and he looked at my resume and saw that I went to Pace and what it was, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, can you read?"
Yeah, see, I hate the stereotype.
Yeah,
That's why I
yeah,
think that the general public needs to have a brochure or a class or something about working with somebody who has a disability or a family member that does have a disability. I think it's the same way, just like what the movement is going on now. I think it would be nice if there was a movement about going on with family members who have disabilities.
right, right. I definitely agree. I definitely agree with you. So hold on for 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, I just